This stream is powered by Melita, using Melita Gigapower Internet. World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
For only €5 a month, experience every high-definition moment on your TV, tablet, phone or PC. Great teams, great moments, and so much more. TSN from Melita is your ticket to stay in the game. Visit melita.com/sports.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
It's so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
wish your Wi-Fi network would just work in any room? Our new Stellar Wi-Fi is AI assisted to give you the smoothest, fastest possible Wi-Fi throughout your home. Stellar Wi-Fi, assisted by AI, exclusive to Melita. Find out more in-store or online.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real. Fiction. Often something that's talked about as something that should never be anywhere near racing. This isn't fiction that we do, that we race. It's not fiction when you go out there on the circuit and drive around and push yourself to the very limits. It's not fiction, all of the battles, all of the stories that you've seen over the years of many greats in many different categories finding themselves up to the highest echelon of what they're capable of doing. But what we're talking about today in terms of a circuit, in its most purest sense, is fiction. It's a track that doesn't exist out there in the real world of racing, and often at times people are very quick to judge and change the way that things should be looked at because a track is either real or it's not real, and something that doesn't find itself in a real sense and a real term you don't often associate with great racing, great opportunities, and quite honestly something that has itself a place in racing. Dragon Trail's different, and we'll see that today here with World Pro Racing. When it comes to ESTV, the Esports Television Network, when it comes to TVM Sports, and when it comes to Motorsport.tv, we are live on YouTube, on Facebook Gaming, and on Twitch as well for coverage brought to you today here with World Pro Racing and this Gran Turismo sport as Dragon Trail has become so very, very famous for. My name's Jake Sperry, all alone here for this one today, and we are about a minute away from getting ourselves over towards practice action out there on the circuit today. But if you haven't already, you can like, share, and subscribe to World Pro Racing for more great, amazing content that is brought to you pretty much all throughout the week. And on top of that as well, we've got new things coming along every single day of the week. And part of what is coming along is the likes of the World Pro Racing Sprint Series, which will be coming up over the course of 5 weeks of action. You do not want to miss that. On top of that, we've got a couple of 90-minute events as well on Assetto Corsa Competizione, one at Suzuka, one at the Hungaroring. And if you have not already, you can go over to worldproracing.com to sign yourself up. There are spaces still open for competition. If you fancy yourself to be a hot shot, you can look down there, just there. You can get yourself in on some amazing action to see more of what is capable of happening with World Pro Racing. Get yourself in on the fun as and when you can. But to Dragon Trail we will go, and we are just about to head over onto track as we do right now. And it's the first time here when it's come to our casual races with World Pro Racing that we've opened everything up to more and more people. Of course, this is a series which is, of course, accredited to the Multi Motorsport Federation and the work that they have been doing time and time again, but they are able to get themselves out there and racing around today, hoping that they have what it takes on the pace to show exactly what they have available to them as we take focus on Windy Boy 97, who has so often been up there at the forefront of these sorts of events. And been really knocking on the door. This is a street circuit feel around this place, and so much about the Dragon's Trail has itself really, really close. There is Kyokudo, who has been so very often when it has come to these Gran Turismo events, the very, very peak at the top of the tower, and very much the person to beat. Rike as well, piloting around in the Porsche here today. We'll be certainly hoping that the results are there. Group 3 specification, of course, passing the start-finish line. It's worth noting that we are running the Seaside layout number 2 here today, and of course, that being the number 2 layout, we are in full force to see who is going to be up there at the top, as we've got some Peugeot concept here for the man, who will be definitely looking to try and hope that that has all that is needed with that large wheelbase there and the long base as well, which certainly could be helping out. Shalinu also is going to be jumping into the same Peugeot and hoping that is going to be a factor that plays out quite well. Looks very, very sleek. This is a very quick circuit. Doesn't have any first gear hairpins, a couple of second gear hairpins and a few chicanes here and there. So definitely looks like it has come out of the realms of different possibilities, as we see other drivers here in this very, very scenic showcase. You get Mountain and you get Sea pretty much all in one around this place. VRC Racer Brown looking to try and get a good run going today in the Porsche, hoping that there are opportunities on the horizon. Chris Pateri's out there on circuit in the Aston Martin V12, so we'll have all of the grunt of those 12 cylinders worth of engine, and we'll be certainly flying around this place today. When we get to qualifying, we'll have a look at a qualifying lap, but this is Ivan, who has been there or thereabouts, a fantastic sweeping section. This is towards the latter stages of the lap as they go on through and up the hill once again in towards the next left-hander, which is understeer central around this place. This is right at the very top end of the circuit towards the end of the lap, so a lot of focus will be made on how to get yourself going on through. In terms of the format here today, well, there's 15 minutes worth of practice. We'll be at 15 minutes of qualifying, and then we'll be looking over to the race. But we get a chance right now to go on boy with Windy Boy. A small kink right for turn 1, which leads into turn number 2. A long left-hander, 114 Ks, back up the gears early and into the tunnel here, which has so many times been a massive throwback to the likes of those where it started before, like Trial Mountain, is now into turn 4 and 5, the chicane. So very difficult. Little brush against the wall, which leads into 6 and 7. The boat's there on the harbour side, the right-hand side, for flicking back left into turn 8. The first sector already done, 2/10 off of the pace. Always a late apex there at turn 8 before up the hill and the rise back towards the mountains. A little bit of draft in front as well. Definitely very, very helpful. Small kink right of turn 9 into a sharper right at 10, which leads into the S's section. 11 into 12 behind a whistle pig there in 12th position. And 13, this another kink left, which doesn't do much. Up and downhill braking zones are so tough. Into turn 14, there's the Mitsubishi in front, getting a little bit out of shape. Which way do you want to go? To the inside at 15 is Brave, but again, not able to get the position. Everyone just trying to work out their laps. Small kink right of 16 leads into 17 with a little bit of contact going through, slowing it right down to turn 18. And this is the final corner, number 19, out on circuit. And you got that long sweeping left and a long run to the start-finish line. So if things do go down to a drag race finish over to the line, it is going to be a very tough one. Try and maintain position. Dowlers here will be certainly hoping for a little bit of help today in the racing green, the British racing green, Aston Martin. So we'll definitely be searching for some good results, and a nice dragon there on the side. And there is Lango in another Aston Martin in 11th position at this moment, and we'll be certainly searching for a little bit of pace and time around this track here today. But this is a track which really will test all of the drivers, and especially about carrying momentum. This is a track which has a very natural flow to it, which is somewhat, would say, surprising for a circuit which is based in the virtual and not in the real. So the flow that this circuit has, it has this very fast pace to it. It is all about trying to maintain a rhythm and a momentum. As we see through the mid-stage of the lap, that's where it can all go wrong, even though having a few issues as well, piloting around in what is the Toyota out there on circuit. So this will be a tough little battle for Ivano here today, and I think we'll be seeing up and down the order every driver have that battle. 20 laps worth of action should be going about in the blink of an eye, so we will be seeing how that one all plays into the long and short. The fastest time at the moment in practice is a 1:37.432, even though it does improve on that lap time, goes to 3.9 seconds off of the quickest time overall, but there is still going to be a lot more time to be found around this place, and 4 seconds around here, well, this is one of the few circuits you can really lose a lot of time on through a couple of corners here and there. It's all about speed, so you'll lose a little bit here and there on the straights, but how late can you break into some of these corners? You can see Windy is so aggressive through this line and can go through the next rights and lefts, takes a whole heap of curb around this place, and it's very, very difficult around this track with just how close some of the walls are here to go off, get those off-track incident points we have seen in this series in Gran Turismo Sport as part of its slowdown-based system, and to put time on the board and have a couple tenths of a second or half a second here or there, always going to be a tough showcase. And you can see just how the street circuit vibe comes in. This reminds me of the swimming pool section at Monaco, this section of road, but only one very, very bit quicker. And that will definitely be a worry, especially into a very narrow braking zone at the next left-hand bend, which can certainly dethrone a couple drivers here and there. There is, of course, so much you can gain around this place if you know where to look, if you know how to stay within a range. And of course, 15 minutes of qualifying is all open, so everyone will be picking up draft off of each other around this place. And we are about 7 minutes away from the start of qualifying here in this series. Of course, the work that is done on Gran Turismo Sport with the Motorsport Federation, all about that road to 2021, which is pretty much going to be starting off in about, well, 2021 starting in about less than 2 months' time now, which is an incredibly scary prospect. But there is so much more that can be gotten as Rike takes the reset back towards the pits. Kyokudo not taking the lane. Of course, the fact that we are running a reversed quote-unquote layout of this circuit is that you have a very, very long pit entry and a very, very short pit exit, which makes life incredibly difficult in terms of coming out onto the line, which you need to get into turn one, because that pit exit line and the marker is right on the apex of turn one. So you have to be really alert and really, really cautious about the way that you go through the opening stages of the laps around this place. See those big wiggles coming off of the curbs being so very, very tough to deal with and navigate around. So we'll keep an eye out on those who will be definitely searching for big results. As you can see the map up in the top right of your screen, ladies and gentlemen, that will be finding out where everyone is. Shalini right now is currently marked as the red dot around that. That will be the car that we'll be on focus with as we go around this circuit here, ladies and gentlemen. That anyone else out there on track will be represented by a blue marker on what is a very tricky circuit to get right at the best of times, and at the worst of times, it can be one very devilish place to go out there and drive and hemorrhage a lot of time here and there. So we're expecting maybe a lot of drivers to get on and have a good run of things today. Soft compound tyres look like they have been the port of call for a lot of people here in this one. So we'll be certainly searching and hoping to search and see who has got the right strategy underneath them. It seems like VRC Racer Brown has just jumped up into third position, at least in practice, and Kyokudo Sentai decides it's his turn to take the top of the timing stands on a 1:37.0, which is a full 0.3 of a second quicker than Windy Boy 97 at the moment. Sometimes there's a little bit of a faux hope that some people think that Kyokudo is this unfallible, unflappable character in these sorts of races who can go out there and win pretty much anything as and when he wants to, but Windy Boy, I think, is definitely going to be trying to work to make sure that that is going to not be the case around here today, especially with how technical some of this circuit can be. The likes of the S's section and the final couple of corners out on track can definitely be tricky to get right through the left-right chicane, which he's going through right now. And of course, those curves are very tough to get right as well. They sort of are very wide. You can angle and attack them, but they also have that drop-off right at the edge, which effectively makes it feel like it's one of those late 90s curves, which are always very tough to try and ride over, and you try to avoid them as much as possible. Here, though, you have to try and go out there and attack with things that are going on. So, focus will be on who can find a good qualifying lap time, and in fact, who can put themselves in the best track position for qualifying, especially that opening sector of the lap. It's very easy to get bogged down and caught up behind someone. It can be a little bit troublesome if people find themselves in the right place or people find themselves in the wrong place, some would say. And 20 laps, of course, is a long time to go around and race around a place like this and work things out. There will be some strategy that I'm sure will be put into perspective here today, but you never know when it comes to this place. You never know when the opportunity will arise. You never know how long you've got until you have lost it. So, Windy Boy searching for good times. There is VRC Racer Brown in 4th position, classified at the moment. Rike is up there in 3rd, with Shalinu 5th, Daman in 6th, and Ivan in 7th position. As things stand at the moment, we're about 3 minutes away from heading over towards qualifying, and a tough 15 minutes of qualifying as well. Drivers will be looking to use all of their tyres, burn up as much fuel as they possibly can, and when they get themselves over to the start-finish line, they'll be hoping that they have themselves last on track to try and get the most out of this place as possible. And this is going to be a real treat for the eyes, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be watching all around the globe for all of this, and we will see who finds himself with the best possible outfit and outlooking here today. So, who is going to be up there and who is going to be doing exactly what is needed out of these results? And again, continuing to book their place into better racing positions and to be right up there at the pointy end, trying to fight for championships here and there, as we look at the man and the very nice Vision Gran Turismo style Peugeot, which definitely could be one of the key contenders to racing that we see today. We go and have a little look here at how this one all plays out. We'll go from the nose and see how this one plays. We've got radar to show where the driver is on track compared to anywhere else, which is a very nice key feature of being in this sort of camera. You can see there in the middle, there is a turbocharger on this, and whoa, hello Rike, going straight on by without any real worries at all. That is as easy as you like to get on through, and just trying to work on through the gears, maybe just going out there for a sight lap and searching about to see where there is much grip and much time, and well, how much can you slow down and be in that ghosted ethereal state that we have seen so many times before, which allows you just to be in a place where you can serve down penalties and the like, and not effectively be in any form of contact, as is the Gran Turismo system. So, we'll be heading in the next couple of moments' time over towards qualifying action here, ladies and gentlemen. And what we find with qualifying is that those lap times, they do have that tendency just to spiral and skyrocket down towards the end of many a session that we seem to find ourselves in. And there's going to be a lot of maybe shuffling and repositioning of who's going to be where when it comes to qualifying lap times. But the one thing they must do is get a banker lap time on the board. If they do find themselves in a little bit of trouble around this place today, the last thing that they'll be hoping for, the last thing that they'll be wanting, is to start this one a little bit further back than maybe they were expecting. So, a lot to be unfurled, I think is the right way to call it, from practice. Kyokudo definitely looked quick. Windy for the longest time looked like he had a lot on the table, and we are out here in qualifying right now and seeing drivers searching for the limits then and getting themselves out there as quickly as they possibly can. Those lap times are going to be key. You can see one driver is already down there in the pits and is yet to leave the box, so to speak, but those 15 minutes, they will go by in a blink of an eye as they take the crest up the hill towards the second sector of the lap, and the rights and the lefts, which are not necessarily dropping much gearing, but they are enough that they are going to play havoc with the tyre life, and you'll certainly hear a lot of tyre squealing around this place today. And Kyokudo wisely just dropping behind Windy Boy 97, not wanting to be in command and in control and giving the advantage away by being the pace setter at the front of the field. There is a lot more that can be done by just being patient, sitting behind and getting the advantage a different way. And I think that's what Kyokudo is definitely searching for at this stage. So Kyokudo Sentai and Windy Boy 97 are going to set themselves up. Kyokudo will get the draft then on the front stretch, and effectively, boom, it's an advantage. Windy Boy now will have to try and make an overtake here to be quicker on this lap, and effectively, we have got two of these Aston Martins really starting to attack these early stages of the laps. Now, through this section, this long turn 3 here, which lisks over to the right, and then you're into turn 4. Little flick of the wall there from Kyokudo's got to be careful about doing that too much. Sparks flying. You can see how much they have to fight over those curves and how actually unsettled the car gets as they go on through. The big wide lines taken through turn number 7 and up the hill towards the S's section, the next section of the lap. You got 9, then you got 10, 11, 12, 13, which is all about this right, which leads into the next left as they go on through and search for lap time upon lap time upon lap time. Kyokudo now out on his own, looking to set those laps. So Windy Boy is definitely backed off of things, it seems, at the moment, and just wanting to get a banker lap time down, going through the next left up at the top of the circuit here at turns 14 and 15. And then you got that small kink right of 16, which does make braking and finding your braking marker difficult to go through the 17-18 chicane, which does fall down the hill, which means that you have to be very cautious about how much speed you do carry through what is a very wide circuit here in the last sector of the lap. But Kyokudo Sentai definitely going to make some progress coming towards the line. Is the benchmark setter. It's a 137.4. to see whether anyone can get quicker. Windy Boy 97 a 39.9, but Rike will definitely jump ahead of that one then in the second position right now. Definitely doing a good job. Ivan is there in 4th position. Chris Pateri moves into 5th. Shalinu jumping up then in with a good time. And look at the slew that is going on here. And there's the Subaru, which is not looking too brilliant there from Chris Pateri. I'm not sure who it was there actually who was going a little bit wide, but there is Shalinu. There is everybody just trying to find a little bit of space as they find their way through the S section. So easy to do, so easy to make mistakes, but now you can see this is how easily you can go through this place and look to be aggressive, as you can see Shalinu having to take a different line slightly, going into the braking zone and almost diamond off the apex on the outside, as that's a little bit of a mistake. And it doesn't matter if you've got number 95 on the side of your car, that's not going to work for Shalinu. He's going to be effectively abandoning that lap. It will be a struggle to find any more improvement there in the Peugeot VGT machine. So, Kyokudo, Rike, Shalinu, Ivan, Daman, your top 5 at the moment, as we look at Rike going along about his business right now, having a very, very good run, and is doing a pretty nice job of things in second place, but 1.4 seconds off of the pace right now. We're already 1/3 of the way through qualifying, and it will be another lap over the line that Rike feels quite comfortable with. I'll try one more and see if that works. 38.8, so there was a marginal improvement over the course of that lap, and there will be more time to find. The likes of Lango and Daman finding some times. Lango going up actually to 7th position. Guesty there on a 142 flat. We do not know where he is at this point in time on a 42 flat. Ilwindi with a 44.3 though. That's not quite ideal, but you can see, bang, into the wall. Easy to do. Can't afford to do that too much. The damage will catch up to you. And there you can see again, Demand just getting a little bit held up a little bit by Lango, which wouldn't have been the ideal situation, but never know. You can always find a little bit of something here and there. And a good run coming off of the exit by Demand, looking to try and get a good run. There is Guesty just behind them as well. I haven't really talked about him too much over the course of things right now. You definitely can't miss him with a livery design like that. But the man is just a whole thousandth behind Ivan at this stage. But there is Guesty looking to try and make some good progress through in the Porsche at this stage. It did look like it had the Subaru colours on it, but it is definitely a Porsche. That'll be trying to find a good run then in the early goings as we are reaching towards the halfway stage when it comes to qualifying laps. So it seems like, at least for the time being, we are in a little bit of that lull where we just sit and we just wait for those opportunities to come up, and those final lap times are going to be key. Windy Boy 97 down in 8th position is out of place, so that could be something worth keeping in mind out with these qualifying laps, that Windy Boy 97 hasn't set anything quote-unquote representative, as Guesty puts a 40.5 down on the board, stays in 10th place right now. But here we go, this is a flyer, and when you got two vehicles coming out of the pits and you are going to be sandwiched in the middle of them, that is not what is known as the plan. The man gets out of the way, but that will have just annoyed maybe Windy Boy ever so slightly, trying to get a good opening sector down on the board. And of course, when it comes to these casual races, it's open choice. You can join whichever you want. If you're an amateur, if you're a professional, if you're just getting into sim racing, if you are at the very tippy top, you can get yourself in on sim racing action. You can head over to worldproracing.com, and if there are spots available, you can find yourself in and racing and having a little bit of fun with your sim racing night, as Ivano puts a 45.7 down on the board. Here is your pole sitter as of the moment, Kyokudo Sentai, going through that final chicane, 17 and 18. At least that small kink right, that small kink left of turn 19, hopefully looking to try and finish off the lap, and in fact will continue. And you can see how they take that narrow line. They want the shortest run possible here to the start finish line, because you've got that small kink right, which effectively allows you to be on that left, on the natural racing line into turn number 1. Rike puts a 38.7 though down on the board, so again another 10th of improvement from Rike. He's just chiseling away a little bit, getting a fine bit of performance here and there, and doing a good job of things at that to boot. But you have yourself the likes of Windy Boy 97 on a 37.770. That puts him very firmly in the 2nd position right now, and doing a very, very nice job of things at this moment in time. You can't really argue and worry too much about that pace at this stage, but you have yourself a whole lot of time in this to try and really work things out. But it's going to be a case where you wait, you think, you hope, and inside the final 5 minutes, you really have to try and execute. And it's executing a good lap, which sometimes you think on paper it's all good. You go through a corner here, a corner there, as VRC Racer Brown, first time really on the board we've seen from him, onto a 39 flat. That's very solid there in 5th position, even though onto a 44.2. But there's ultimately a really good bit of work being done there. That Porsche is having a fun time of things. It's only a 1/4 of a second behind Shalinu at this moment in time. So there is definitely pace. There is definitely going to be some time. And there is definitely going to be a battleground that we are seeing at this moment out there on track. Rike diving into the pits. You can see how much fuel they are definitely not using here in terms of these runs. So this is going to be a case where, okay, the fuel's not really going down. We can just be aggressive on tyres and work this out on tyres from now until the end of this one. Windy Boy wants another set. Try and go to the end of qualifying on and find maybe a little bit of improvement as the man moves to a 38.5. That's the little bit of improvement we were talking about. Up to third place in the Peugeot is a very good qualifier of the car, is the man. And that could be a cause of concern for some. But the top two looks like they want to play their own game at this moment. And, well, who can blame them right now as they go on through? Ivan jumping up with a 38.8. That's fifth place at the moment for him. He's just slots in behind Rike at the moment, just 0.3 off of the man in third place at this stage. That's a wiggle on the curb. That's not ideal, but there is VRC Racer Brown jumping up into third place in the Porsche. So all of a sudden, it's getting a little bit close here, and we're seeing those times coming in. Chris Pateri jumps up into 8th place on a 39.440. So that time, good enough to be on the 4th row of proceedings here today right now. So we definitely are seeing here that times are working, that we are finding some very, very good results, and these results are starting to be found. Kyokudo will probably only get 1, maybe 2 representative flying laps around this place now, with how long's left in session. We've got 3 minutes almost on the clock, and in fact it's going to be on the clock right now. So 3 minutes left to work things out. You're either on an outlap or a flyer at this point. That's the only 2 alternatives if you're thinking about coming down into the pits. You're leaving it quite late here at this stage. It's a 1 minute 40 to get yourself around this one conservatively at a very quick pace for the leaders. So they know what they need to do. They're all focusing on, okay, well, how much can we keep ourselves in a good position? How much life can we actually keep in the tyre? Guesty jumping up into 8th then with a 39.2. That's going to work. There is Windy, and there is Ilwindy jumping up with a 41.244. So outside of the top 8 at the moment, still a good time, and that will be the key. Still a good time is certainly working for a lot of people right now. Rike is there down in 5th position. It's going to be a who's who, effectively, trying to work out where 3rd through 7th should be sitting up in terms of qualifying right now. But top end of the circuit for Kyokudo Sentai. Top end of the circuit trying to attack down and starting that flying lap, which is so very crucial. And we are going to be seeing, well, how much time is going to be left on the clock. It's going to look like it is very tight in terms of getting 1 lap or 2 in on the board. And I think it's going to be the former more rather than the latter, where Kyokudo is only going to be able to get this 1 final lap all sorted and together. He will be one of the first drivers over the line. Windy Boy will have that opportunity to go out there to be aggressive, try and follow that lap as it becomes a 1 lap shootout effectively. Rike jumping up with a 38.5 goes to the 2nd row of the grid for at least the time being here, and has 1 more lap to play with. Windy Boy 97 onto a flying lap, and in fact has just finished one and put himself almost 0.4 of a second clear here in qualifying. That's a mega lap from him. A 37 flat was one I think a lot of people were thinking, okay, if practice times are like that, well, can we find a bit more? All of a sudden, lap needs to be extracted here. Kyokudo, who's only got 1 chance to make sure it happens, is 0.8 clear of the rest of the field, but still nearly 0.4 of a second behind at this moment, and needing to find that time, taking all of the curb and a bit of a grass as well, and he's using all of the road here through the Essex section and towards turn 14, up and down the hill, coming along and into the next left-hander, and you start to think, you start to wonder, well, okay then, how is this one going to play out in terms of time? A good final sector needed, and this is the last real breaking point on track through the left and right, and that's a missed apex. What a time for it. Kyokudo's lap is effectively dashed up. How often do you see that then? A mistake in qualifying as the timer now expires on session. Evano moves up on a 140.448, but Windy Boy, as things stand, will take pole position and has forced one rare thing out of Kyokudo, and that is a mistake on a qualifying lap. Rike jumps in 3rd on a 38.134, and is there going to be an exclamation point on this qualifying lap from Windy. He's got himself time. He's got himself over the line. And the answer is no more improvements for that one coming to the checkered flag at the Dragon Trail International Raceway here on Gran Turismo Sport. So, wow. Only way you can describe that is wow, because you do not often see mistakes out of Kyokudo. He is someone who, time and again, finds himself in the best possible position. He is someone who, time and again, gets the victory under the back pocket. Qualifying gives you the best possible position, but it's not often that you have to talk about Kyokudo trying to win a race from behind, more rather than Kyokudo trying to win a race from in front. So that's going to be the key battle for the front two. Third on back, that's anyone's guess at this stage. We saw Rike put in some great times. VRC racer Brown had some great work to put in as well. So there are maybe a couple of people here and there that might be finding themselves with the best possible involvement as we get the end of qualifying up just about there on screen. Nope, the other way, Jake. That there, somewhere there on screen. That was the end of qualifying effectively coming to a conclusion. But now we'll be looking over towards the race and everybody's starting to grid up here at the Dragon Trail and hoping that 20 laps worth of action is going to be in their best interest and they can hope to find their best result out there. And as we move on over and see everybody taking themselves into a readied position, now 20 laps feels like a long haul. You've got to make sure that you are alert and you are making sure that you have played the strategy card perfectly early. Windy Boy in control. They will be an automated system until this countdown comes down, and on go they can go. They can start now, and 20 laps of racing action is underway as they charge into turn 2 for the very first time. The long left-hand hairpin as they all start to chase any side-by-sides as they go into the opening corners. Answer to that one is no. The opening sector is a tough sector around this place, but Windy Boy 97 will comfortably have that advantage. Half a second to work with at this stage as they go through the lefts and the rights, and expect maybe strategy to be open and alert already in the opening couple of laps immediately. As there is Shalinu under pressure from Guesty in 8th place, who wants to move up into 7th as soon as possible. That's a lunge down the inside, and that will hopefully be that place. No, answer to that one is not going to happen then on the rise up the hill towards the middle sector of the lap, and this very tough place where if you are in the wrong position at the wrong time, it is a tough place to follow behind drivers here and there as they all swarm on down the hill and back up the rise once again, heading towards turns 13 and 14, or 14 and 15, which now we find ourselves on with the leaders. Kyokudo having a very good start to the lap. Windy Boy's got to be cautious about this. Those Aston Martins really do pick up on the straight, and especially in draft, that's where you can definitely start to find a little bit of time and a little bit of that magical something that gives you the result that you need. But still, there is Guesty in 8th place, wanted to get on through. There is also a battle going on there right down at the back of the pack, but we'll see how the draft comes into play here on the front stretch. There is Dowlers, and you can just see it in the background of shot past behind Ivano, Ilwindy and Whistlepig then going at it here. Aston Martin versus Mitsubishi in towards turn number 2, and that's a lunge for the inside for Whistlepig, who has just about managed to pick that one up and maintains the place. Guesty still looking here on lap 2, trying to find this one, and ultimately is not in the position that is quite there. The man in 5th place is just playing that patience card, letting VRC and Rike have their own run as they play best of the rest here. Second fiddle, some would say, to the rest of everyone that's going on. But here's some side-by-side for the race lead. Kyokudo has to do it the long way around. It's the inside here, but it's outside for the next corner. And ultimately, Windy Boy 97 does defend that place and does defend it nicely. But it's all about drive off the exit here. And a lot of real turbulence there for Kyokudo, who struggled to put the power down on the exit and now just has to sit behind and effectively play holding station for just another lap longer. And the more they start to fight, the more that these drivers behind are definitely going to be wanting to get themselves in on for this battle, as third and fourth, Rike and, of course, Racer Brown will be in their scrap. So, 2 laps in the books. We're already 1/10 of the way through this one. And there is the Serpentine all the way to the left-hand side. Kyokudo's going to dive for the inside. That's going to turn to the outside, though, at turn 2. And Windy Boy knows this one, but he's out of power. He was hitting the limiter. And there is Kyokudo taking the race lead away in lap 3 out of 20. And now it's Windy's turn just to sit in behind and play the patience card here in this race. Easy to do on paper, difficult to do in philosophy. But whilst they're having their scrap, Rike, of course, and Racer Brown having their work. This is the first time I've seen Racer Brown in one of these events, but he has certainly proven that he's got pace to be hanging with the likes of Rike, who has done a very good job time and time again to put himself in the best possible positions to try and podium. And you can see there, that's the sort of difference maker that we are seeing. Those gaps extending on the straights from the Aston Martins, and they are not going to be closed any time soon. Right now, as Kyokudo Sentai is half a second clear at the moment. You talk about those, though, in 6th position. For example, Ivan holding up a little bit of a train. He's got Shalinu just behind, who has been able to gap away from Chris Spiteri, who is in 8th position at this moment in time. But 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th will be certainly feeling that they've got good chances here today. And they'll be hoping that those good chances come into full view and we see them working out nicely. Ivan all over the curb, and a massive tank slap is not going to be helping for things either, as that's only going to allow the likes of those behind to close on in, like Chris Spiteri and Guesty, for example, who are in positions 8 and 9 at the moment as we go on to lap 4 of 20 and get another lap ticked off in the books. It's Kyokudo and Windy out in front to a pretty hefty lead at this stage for 4 laps worth of action, especially as well, seeing as they didn't really gain anything on lap number 3. But at least for the time being, it's looking like Kyokudo is just starting to find the semblances of gap that he wants. He's got 6 to 7 tenths of a second consistently so far in this one, and if he can just get that out to a second, maybe a little bit more, we could be seeing maybe just those breakaways, which are so very vital in terms of finding the right result for those who want it. Kyokudo struggles to get things all wrong sometimes, but you can certainly see how aggressive they have to be through the curves. VRC Racer Brown showcasing to everyone that if you just clip it a bit too much, you're in a world of trouble. But a good middle sector there from Windy Boy 97 is just bringing him back into the party, it seems, in this battle for the top 2, 1st and 2nd positions. They go through the S section once again. Good drives on the exit required. Small kick left and 19 doesn't really do much in terms of this one. It's all about steering precision and then staying through. Rike is just about started to gain a gap now, 1.2 seconds ahead of Windy Boy and Co at this moment in time. Oh, sorry, behind, and that is a switch to the outside then for Windy Boy 97, trying to open up a move on the inside, potentially on exit. Can't quite get enough of it, so that's going to be a waiting game that we are seeing, as at least for the time being, they are doing quite well through the S section here, the left and the right, and back in through the right and the left, and then you've got this tough, very, very tricky section of road, which very much rides back up the hill, has a lot of characteristics that maybe are similar to Brands Hatch in that sort of sense, the way you take that corner, like turn 4 at Surtees, which very much is all about setup, and that is once more a setup style corner. Through the S section once again, we look back to 3rd, 4th and 5th position, and again VRC Racer Brown does love attacking that curb over at turn 8. So with that in mind, they can see the likes of Dowlers, for example, up into 7th position here and having a really strong run up through the order. Ivan has nothing he can really say or do about that, because he's falling backwards into the clutches of Chris Pateri, who is there in ninth place. So that's another one that maybe, if you are looking to pay attention to battles, just keep an eye out on that. There is Kyokudo once again heading over the start-finish line. No takers yet onto the lane. I don't think we're in that window just yet, but what you can definitely say is that Kyokudo is defending. He's trying to go the inside way. He's going to force Windy to try and go the long way around. You're not going to do it like that against someone like Kyokudo. I'll tell you that one for a fact. He is one of the toughest cookies in the jar to try and usurp out of a good position. So, still, it is those two at the front. Rike is in third, Racer Brown in fourth, and Deman has quietly been going about business in fifth place. There is that fight for the podium, which I do expect we are, as that Porsche is really struggling through these high-speed corners to keep anywhere near stable right now. If there is any time to think about who could potentially challenge for the podium, keep an eye out on Demand. Could definitely find a nice little streak here and there that goes and makes the results as they should be at this moment in time. But we still find ourselves with those front two, and this has been the key all year long. These two battling and 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 battling, and ultimately it has been one-sided so far in the majority of these battles. But Kyokudo wants in. Kyokudo wants action. Kyokudo wants to find exactly what he needs, and he is seeing at this stage that Windy Boy 97 is just content to stay in behind, get a little bit of the draft, maybe move to the outside and not really worry or have too many concerns when it comes to the pit stops that will be coming along. Of course, you don't really lose too much time with the way that pit stops are done in Gran Turismo Sport. It's effectively a cutscene where you determine how much tyre and fuel wear you have taken and put into the car. But Rike there in third, and here's the man. He's been waiting patiently, and all of a sudden, time to pounce, he does, as he moves up into the fourth place. And fourth position is very, very good and solid for him. Moving through the left and right, and now into the next section. He takes that very wide line through the opening chicane and then gathers it all back up in the second pass. You can see just how spread this field is at the moment. You can see some drivers looking to get going. One driver is in the pits right now. I don't quite know who that is. Evano has jumped up into 8th place in the meantime. So it looks like we definitely do have takers in on the lane who have come in and made stops, which makes me think Ivan has come down in, made stop back out and away in 11th place, as well as others. So maybe Racer Brown's thinking about this two-stop, thinking, okay, right time is now. Also got those leaders, of course, who will be thinking about the pit stop strategy and whether they've done the right thing. Have they saved enough fuel? Have they got the right driving style, capability, mentality here today, as Ilwindi is about to be overtaken by Chris Pateri, going up the hill for 11th place, and that is as comfortable as you like at that section. Aston Martin and Aston Martin working things out between them as they look to continue to battle on. Nope, no real dramas or concerns. Oh, don't follow the driver in front of you's braking marker. Around you go, in trouble, and Chris Pateri in trouble. So Ilwindi gets himself finding the braking marker. I'll brake when you brake. How about that? Well, what happens when we both don't brake? We James Dean it. That's the way that I think's the reality here. Bang into the wall. And then again, Windy with another spin. It looked like there at the end, Chris Pateri was also struggling to get power down off of said exit. So Ivano down into the pits then in the Toyota, and we'll be looking for a nice quick stop. Maybe a bit of fuel in the car is used up, about half of it so far in terms of the way that they've been running, and this should be a comfortable out and away again without too many worries at all. There we go, and onto the hard compound green wall tyre. That's an interesting one. Wasn't expecting people to go to the green wall here today and have a hard compound from now to the end. So that is all about confidence and how much confidence there is in the tyre. But at the moment, likes of Kyokudo, likes of Windy, no such unconfidences that they have at the moment. Demand comfortably in 4th place, but is now 3 seconds adrift of Rike, who is in third position right now, and many a driver has been keeping an eye out on who is where and who is doing what. Of course, Mikhail is been right up there in these races that we have seen this season, but he's taking a little gander from the sidelines today, working out, okay, who needs to be where, side by side for the lead again. Windy Boy's going to go the long way around, but again, same old story. It ain't going to work, sunshine. Got to be on the inside. You got to place the car perfectly, and Windy's got a stunning run off of the exit. Why not try into 3? It's off and away from you through 3, but now 4. There was contact as they were starting to turn in, and Windy Boy ultimately backing out through the very, very committed lefts and rights. If he had stuck his nose in, there would have been a huge incident, and of course there is stewarding and post-race penalties after the race, which is applied by the likes of the chief race steward, Adrian Fagayo, and the race director and the chief race steward, Adrian Fagayo and George Muscat. So both of them will be certainly searching for quite a bit. It seems like one stop might be the right call, port of call here today, with the man currently on lap 9 of his event holding off Racer Brown and trying to do so without really anything to worry about. There is Dowlers in 7th position here, and just trying to get a good run in the Dragon car, and that Aston Martin will try and go a little bit quicker. Ivan is the first of the takers who have come down in, so Ivano is behind Whistlepig out there on circuit right now, and we are starting to see here one driver a lap down. That is Chris Pateri, who is in the Aston Martin, just getting out of the way of the leading 2, and it's taken only 8 laps to make that one a reality. So Chris Pateri is looking like he is going backwards, and, well, if you need a third word, it's backwards, ladies and gents. But we're at the halfway stage at the end of this lap. Gap 4/10 of a second here, with Kyokudo once more holding advantage. He slides it through the opening corner, though, and he's got to be careful about using up the rear tyre. But if he is starting to, in terms of that sense, he may be thinking about, okay, pit lane seems like a good idea at this point. Not going to say no otherwise. Through the left and right of the opening chicane. Really nice and close to the wall. Making sparks. He goes on through to 6 and 7. Now into turn number 8. Out on circuit. A long left. Out there on track. It's all nice and dandy from Kyokudo. Nothing really to worry about except Windy behind. So he'll be fine. For at least the time being anyway, but we've got pit stop strategy that's coming into play. If you haven't already, ladies and gentlemen, you can like, share and subscribe to World Pro Racing for more amazing content. You can do so on YouTube, you can do so on Facebook Live, you can do so on Twitch as well, and that is all with the availabilities to them, where maybe if you find yourself with exactly what you need at exactly the right time, you could be racing here, be it a novice, be it a veteran. You have that opportunity to do so. Windy Boy, though, are all over the back into 17-18 here. This final chicane out on circuit down the hill. And now to attack what is going to be the final corner. The small flick left out on circuit. And it's all about drive now. And who dives in? Well, the answer is both of them. And I'm not surprised to see that both of them have taken the call to dive down in onto the lane. They'll split the stints up half and half, work out who's done well on the fuel. It seems like Windy has been the more economical by about 4% of a tank. So that really does say all you need to know. They're out and away again. And that is Windy Boy ahead. And crucially ahead of that as well, because he's been able to save that fuel. He's been quietly running his race, and he now knows he's got to run straight on through. He does have lap traffic, though, to try and get on by. That is Guesty, who he is trying to move on through, who is just going to drive his own race. He is ghosted at this stage, so he doesn't necessarily have to obey the blue flag orders that are there. But all of a sudden, there's pace, and you can't really argue against that one. That isn't always going to stay behind in terms of that one. But at least at this point, Windy Boy, 0.8 of a second, clear at the front of the field. He is forcing Kyokudo to chase, and not only to chase, but to chase and then sit behind for as long as it takes on these final couple laps. He knows he's got the fuel advantage when he filled up the car, and this all of a sudden becomes a case of Kyokudo having his strategy unravel before his very eyes, not expecting, or maybe was expecting, it to be maybe somewhat close, but that was pretty solid work, if you ask me. Rike is currently in third. He is about 9 seconds off of the front two in that group, as Guesty and Chris Terry will now move themselves into a battle for 13th place, which will be one of the, if not the last places that we have in this grid today. So work to be done for both of them at this stage as they pass over the start-finish line. Windy Boy is now out to a second, and this is a crucial second because that means that Kyokudo is going to maybe struggle to pick up the toe, pick up the draft through a couple of corners here and a couple of corners there, and that's going to be awkward at best, you would feel, here for Kyokudo, trying to chase this one down on lap number 12 here out of 20. But likes of Demand, for example, in 5th position. Remember, he wasn't a million miles away when it came to the stop, when it came to getting close enough to drivers that is needed to. Of course, he's yet to come down in, really. Oh, someone in the wall there. That is Chris Spiteri, who has run into troubles. I saw that one. They were fighting with Guesty, he was. And there you can see contact on entry, wall 1, wall 2. And that's a very sudden stop, and I wonder how many Gs you're going to be pulling with a stop as sudden as that. All I know is, ouch. It probably hurts if it goes like that. So the resident Swede is in on the lane for the second of the 2 stops here today. But Windy Boy, 0.8 of a second, struggling a little bit in that middle sector to really maximise and get as much as he possibly can out of this, but this is looking more and more like this is going in a certain direction. Oh my goodness, there. Kyokudo with a huge slide coming off of the curb, and we'll have a look at this one. There you can see he's on the curb and he's on the AstroTurf, and you get a difference in wheel spin ratio. You get one wheel or 2 wheels spinning a little bit faster than the others, and that's why it wants to snap to a certain direction left or a certain direction right, and ultimately Kyokudo is able to hold on to it for the time being and keep the gap crucially at only 1.1 seconds. Only 1.1 is the gap. So time to be found. Opportunities are to be knocked. And at this stage, Rike in 3rd place is just quietly getting about things and getting a job done. Didn't really need to worry too much about the Racer Brown behind, but 2.4 seconds, not out of the realm of possibility here at the Dragon Trail, the seaside circuit here, the reverse layout around this place. It can all go wrong in the blink of an eye, and it can also all go right in the same respect for the other drivers. So they have to make sure they are on a 0 mistakes contract from now to the end. Ivan in and out of the pits in 8th position, now in 8th, being in 8th place on lap 13. It's going to be an aggressive stint from now to the end of this one, and he knows it better than anybody else. There is Guesty in 13th place with Ilwindy and Whistlepig in front. Lango is there also wanting to try and get on in and find the right result that is there, but of course there's a lot of gaps starting to creep up in the middle of this field between the likes of Guesty and Ilwindy. There's 35 seconds on the board, and that means that it's all very tough, it's all very difficult, and you're not going to find those extra seconds and tens of seconds right now, and this is going to be really, really crucial. Here's the gap now between Windy and Kyokudo. It's now up to 1.3 seconds. Now that tells you all you need to know here. Windy Boy is finding the pace when it's needed because he knew how to fuel save. He got himself the gap on the undercut in the stops, and you start to think about this in a different stage. Ultimately, Windy Boy is having a real fun time. Not when you're Whistlepig, though, and you run into troubles. Not when you're Ilwindy, and you also run into troubles. So here's Ilwindy. He's struggling a little bit. Whistlepig ultimately was off the road anyway, and Ilwindy just grabbing the curb on the exit, spins it around, and has a really, really not fun time of things. So ultimately, Ilwindy drops on back and is now in 12th position. So that's all some nice fun, but for the time being, we're going to listen in for a little moment with your race leader, Windy Boy 97. He's still being chased by Kyokudo has managed to pull that gap back down to 1 second over the course of this lap. Fact, that gap is clawing back in to what is now 8/10, 9/10 of a second. Tells you all you need to know. Kyokudo is just been quietly just getting a rhythm, just working out, okay, can I save a couple things here and there? And if I feel like I've got a good number where I'm using enough percentage of my tank to get myself over to the line, I can then start to go out there, put the aggressive laps in, and then put 6 laps of incredible torture on the back of Windy Boy 97. There is Rike in third. His gap, though, is starting to fall down as well. VRC Racer Brown has brought that one down to 1.5 seconds. It was up at 2.5 seconds at one point in time. And these drivers are about 15 seconds right now off of the race lead, and proving once and, well, also for all, that there is going to be some stiff competition in these casual races that we're seeing, especially at the Dragon Trail, where we have these battles for first and second, third and fourth, and I wouldn't be surprised to see fifth and sixth as well between Daman and Shalinu out there. And the answer is no, because Shalinu is 20 seconds down the road as the second of the Peugeot Vision Gran Turismos. You see maybe just how easy it can be, but there's the gap. 8/10. Now, Windy Boy looks good in the middle sector, but the fact that the gap is 8/10 right now, and there's draft, and they're both in some really punchy vehicles, like the Aston Martins, this could be trouble central here for Windy Boy, who's got to be careful about letting that gap crawl down 10th by 10th by 10th. If he lets that one go down to about 3/10, you know that Kyokudo's going to be there to pounce, so this is a real tough battle, especially when you've got draft to help you if you're Kyokudo. That gap just creeping under 8/10 of a second now through the chicanes. And, oh, you can see how aggressive you need to be. He's just brushing the Armco barriers there at every opportunity. And again, on the brakes you go into the next left, taking a more shallower line, attacking more curb, and having to fight the car on the exit there. And that's going to give all that time back up to a second again. That's a mistake from Kyokudo there, being a little bit too greedy, too aggressive, trying to find the time. You don't take advantage there of turn number 8, the corner that definitely does not want you to, and is doing a really, really fun job of things right now. So, Kyokudo has to find that time again, or find a mistake out of Windy Boy 97 when the pressure gets right down to it. And we have seen that pressure get right down to it earlier on this year. The likes of Bathurst comes to mind with Windy Boy, and how it was always going to look close and close, and Kyokudo was able to hold on for that one to pick up the win. But Kyokudo is chasing for this one and does not have all the cards at disposal. That's how hard you're chasing here, out into the grass, and somehow keeping the foot down and not losing too much here on this straight. Only about maybe a half a tenth is going away. So Kyokudo is still there, still putting that pressure on. And Windy Boy knows it, that even with these mistakes of Kyokudo pushing too hard at this moment, the gap is suddenly down up to 1.3 seconds with 4 laps to go here in this race. Rike versus Racer Brown is looking like it's close, but it remains at about 1.4, 1.3, 1.2 now going through this section. It's a very aggressive entry there to that corner. There is Dowlers in 7th position. He's one of your biggest movers in the field. He's having a very nice, quiet, underrated drive, as is Shalinu in 6th place. Just coming over the line now, trying to lap Ilwindi in 11th overall, who is, of course, now trying to build a gap to 12th place. And the Swede behind, of course, the Whisper Pig, is doing, the Whistle Pig doing a good job. But there are your leaders. And again, Kyokudo pushing too hard. He grabs 2 tires in the grass, and all of a sudden, 4 more tenths of a second fall away. And I think if you're going to be an optimist, even now, you'll be starting to wave the white flag and saying this one might just be ever so slightly over with the way that Kyoto is trying to drive. And this is the thing about driving aggressive and overdriving the car. The moment you start overdriving and being aggressive, you start losing time. Then what happens when you lose time? You need to go out there and find more time. So what do? You drive aggressive. You drive even more aggressive, and then you lose even more time by being over-aggressive. And it goes over and over and over, and you get the vicious circle of mockery that comes along of you've lost so much time. It's all going away. It's now 1.8 seconds here with 3 laps to go. Storm very comfortably weathered, you would say, from Windy Boy 97 right now, with not long remaining in this race. He also has the fastest lap of the day so far on a 37.5. So, anyone's going to find anything, qualifying lap times at least are going to have to be found and put on the books at this stage. So, not long left. 2.5 laps now. We will focus hopefully on that 3rd and 4th place battle as well, as that one gets closer to a conclusion, as this gap battle at the front is opening up and doing a really good job, as Windy is just well within the limits every single time. Kyokoto's a lot closer to those limits, but he is just straying over them ever so slightly. But I do want to see where Rike is and where, of course, VRC Racer Brown is in comparison. And look at this. It's 0.3 of a second, and all of a sudden, Rike's in a fight, and it's a battle of 911 RSR Porsches as they climb up and down the hill at turn 14. And as they look into the corner, VRC Racer Brown is looking a lot more aggressive here in terms of the line taken through 14. Through 15, he's using more of the road, and Rike is trying to be nice and narrow and using all of it there. That's a half look down to the inside, just trying to get in the mirrors, trying to force the error through 17 and 18. And through the left of 19, this could be the chance that Racer Brown was hoping for. This could be a little search up onto the podium here. And the focus through towards turns 1 and 2 is, well, how late are you going to leave it? Here's the lunge down on the brakes. And the podium now changes, but here's an up and here's an under trying here from Rike. And he's going to have to drive hard here on the outside of turn 3, because 4 and 5 got the inside and you're aggressive, you can hold on to it. It's one line suits all through this section, and through they go, and that is a lift from Rike, and ultimately it is Racer Brown who does now move up into the 3rd place position, the final spot on the podium. We've got a lap and a half to go, and the gap is 2.1 seconds now at the front of the field for Windy Boy here, and just trying to climb up the hill and showcase exactly what he is made of. Kyoto is by no means a slouch. They have both lapped up to 9th position in this one. Ivan Birmingham is the next one due to be on the lapping board, and he's someone who doesn't often get lapped in events like these. In the endurance events brought to you by HyperX earlier on this year, really could say Ivan was maybe the 3rd best driver overall with the way that he was running and the abilities that he had. But we are now down to the final lap of this race. We are now down to the final opportunities of this race, and we are now thinking about what is next. Who can be a challenger when it comes to next year? And this is the first real indication so far that we have seen, as there's a puff of smoke they've gone through from one driver slower in front, that maybe Kyoto is not going to have everything his own way when it comes to the Maltese National Championship, when it comes to booking that place at the Motorsport Games in 2021. There are no guarantees. He's 1.6 seconds back. He's got half a lap to try and figure this one out, as they are on the 3rd and 4th. Rike again trying to go for that outside-inside line, and he's got to be brave now and stick the foot in, and he does, and ultimately it is Racer Brown now that has to yield and lose the place, and Rike holds on to it, but Racer Brown is not giving this one up in 3rd either. There is Windy Boy, 1.5 seconds, just managing the gap now between now and the end, and coming out of turn number 8 and up the rise, they all start to charge. Rike and Racer Brown are fighting for one podium place, and someone is unfortunately going to have to be unlucky and lose out in this one. Through turn 10, they come along as 11 and 12 are the S's section. They'll have a small kink left up the hill of 13 to negotiate as well. Racer Brown uses all of the track and in fact runs slightly wide. And I think that may just be that. Out of 18, Small Kink left of 19, Establishment Challenge, Windy Boy 97 has held off Kyokudo and takes a huge statement win at the Dragon Trail. Kyokudo will take second, and for third, it looks like Rike is in prime position to hold on to things. He's nice on the curb, and it doesn't matter how much draft you have at 6, 7 tenths of a second back, Rike will take the podium over the line for what is a really, really strong finish and strong result here today. Just a few more drivers will be coming to the line. Deman will have 5th place over Shalinu in 6th and Dowlers in 7th. The last finisher on the leading lap will be Ivan in 8th position here today. But that's the first finisher of the VGT, the virtual on the virtual track. And you could say it's a match made in heaven, that Peugeot here at Dragon Trail, but well worked, as well as Guesty there into 10th position. Shalinu finishes this one off in 6th place over the line. There is Dowlers getting a big wiggle on, coming towards the end. It will be a chase down to the line here for Ivan, but I think he's just a little bit too far back. There is Ivan right now in the background, but Dowlers is going to be able to hold that one off towards the end of the race. That is everybody then pretty much across the line. There is your winner, Windy Boy 97. And really, what can you say? He had a phenomenal race where he was the one not making the mistakes. Kyokudo was, and that strategy just to stay behind, save a little bit of fuel, it paid off. It did the job that it very much needed to. So no real worries as they all look to try and pick up proceedings and get the results that they so very much wanted here today. But we do have a little bit of an ability to go out there and have a little bit of conversation here with this one. Firstly, we'll talk to Windy Boy 97, who picks up the win overall. Now, Mr. Windy, that goes down as probably one of those results that you will feel very comfortable and confident with. It was a game of no mistakes, and saving fuel in the early stages seemingly really helped you out.
Yeah, the dragon has been tamed now. So, yeah, I did no mistakes, which I was really proud of. This track is really difficult to have a clean race all around.
Well,
yeah.
It's difficult to have a clean race, but let's talk through then that strategy call. Then you managed to get yourself ahead, you jumped ahead, and then all of a sudden it seemed like the driver behind you was starting to just make a couple mistakes here and there. How psychologically helpful is it seeing maybe a tenth here, a tenth there fall away through a small little bit of dirt popping up, say, from the grass?
Yeah, me and Kyokudo were really close the whole week. So when he passed me in the beginning, I said I don't want to fight it and to risk having some damage. So I stayed behind, saved some fuel. And then when the pit stops came, I went to I undercut a bit the fuel as well. I went like one lap down, just to be sure that I was in the lead. And then just managed the race there, pretty much. Yeah, trying to make no mistake every time and stay in control.
Absolutely, and you know, we start talking about 2021. It's only a couple of months away. We're thinking national championships will be coming up on the horizon, and well, what result can you look and pick up? So the question becomes here, Windy, well, is this a position where you think this is the base that's going to start things up? And is this going to be maybe a lot tougher of a challenge than we have seen in maybe some other championships?
Yeah, I think it was a one casual race to start off. So yeah, but I will use this as a motivation. You know, pole position, fastest lap, and the race win overall. It really helps me overall. So yeah, I will use it. Hopefully I can take Daniel again next time.
Well, before we let you go, shout out sponsors, anyone you'd like to thank.
Yeah, I want to thank World Pro Racing, first of all, for organizing this race. Pretty much that is. And my Wi-Fi for not cutting on me.
Oh, of course, you definitely must thank your wife, otherwise you're in a lot of trouble when you get off the tin. There we see Windy Boy taking a big win overall with this one. Kyokudo, though, would take second place. Now, this has been a series of races here, Kyokudo, where we've been looking at you and we've been seeing win, 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 and win. But today it's only a second place. Was it just a case of trying too hard to try and claw all that time back?
Actually, it was the most fun I've had in quite a while playing this game. I hope we have much more races like this, because usually just running away isn't that much fun. It was a good ride. I didn't have much time to practice this week. A lot of going on with racing at the moment in Malta, but I'm pretty happy with the outcome of the race.
Pretty happy there with a second position, and well, why wouldn't you be in terms of this on the top two, where the top two very, very comfortably ran away with things. But in terms of making the move early in the event, you got yourself the race lead, you had to fight it out, and it seemed like you just had a little bit less fuel when it came to the pit stop.
Yeah, I knew with Jamie sitting behind me, he was saving quite a lot of fuel. But at the beginning, I tried pushing him a bit. Maybe I'll force him in a mistake, but that didn't really work. Then in the second stint on lap 16, I spun the wheels coming out after the chicane on the left-hander, and I knew that was over with. Once you spin up the wheels and get them a bit hot, they take ages to get back to where they're supposed to be.
Let's talk pressure and let's talk about 2021, because national championships coming up on the horizon as well. Is there any pressure in terms of your end when you're looking at everything going on and you're perceived from the outside looking in as the favourite?
At the moment, I still feel quite relaxed about the championship, to be honest. I know I didn't practice much for this race. Obviously, when the real races begin, then we'll kick it up a notch or two again.
Well, floor is yours. Second place. Shout out sponsors. Anyone you'd like to thank?
I would like to thank World Pro Racing, my family, obviously, for not complaining much while I'm playing with the PlayStation. Apart from that, that's it.
A lot of work being done there, and a very, very good result for Kyokudo. Second place, but maybe just one step too far away. We also have Rike here, who finished in third place. Now, let's talk those final couple of laps there, Rike, where you were being chased down hand over fist. How frustrating must it have been just to look behind and see that time just go away, 10th on 10th?
Oh, I'm out of breath. Yeah, it was a lot of pressure from Racer Brown behind me. Always, I knew he was going to be the one who's going to be fighting most against me. And it was up until the last lap where after he passed me, I knew I had to take him back. Yeah, that was basically the only battle I had on track, but it was basically mostly keeping consistent, keeping cool, making sure I don't make any mistakes.
And mistakes you pretty much didn't do throughout the entirety of that event. Now, something very key in terms of those final two laps here, Rike, was a case of turn number 4 and 5, the opening of the chicanes, because it seemed on lap 19 you were very happy just to sit behind and wait in line for a better opportunity. Lap 20 comes along and you keep your nose in, you keep the foot in, you force the line by having the inside at the curb. What was the difference makers for you in terms of being maybe a little bit more passive on lap 19 and being a little bit more aggressive on the final lap?
Well, after he passed me through the chicane, I knew I was going to be slower on the exit because obviously he had the inside and I had to back out of it since I was still behind him. But I knew that if I push one more lap to leave it to the last lap, I could do the same that he did to me. Just this time I'll keep my elbows open and I'm going to make the inside of this corner now.
Well, floor is yours here, Rike. Shout out sponsors, anyone you'd like to thank.
I'd like to thank, first of all, of course, World Pro Racing for organizing such events for us. My family for all the support they give me throughout my sim racing career. And also to Continental Cars Limited for all their help and support that they provide for me.
Well, no worries at all there. Rike comes home with third position overall. And with that, that brings proceedings here tonight to a close. But we are no means done here, ladies and gentlemen, with all of the amazing work that is put in behind the scenes, with all the sponsors that you've been seeing cycling up on the top of your screen, all the sponsors that you can see down below, and where we are found here with TVM Sport, ESTV, the Esports Television Network, and of course to Motorsport.tv as well. There is a lot on the horizon. Of course, there are still spaces open for those who want to join the Assetto Corsa Competizione. 90 minutes of the Hungaroring. We're all booked out for Suzuka, unfortunately, at this moment in time. But on top of that, we've got that World Pro Racing Sprint Series coming up, and that is going to be a treat. The only place you can catch it is, well, with ourselves on YouTube, Facebook Live, and on Twitch as well. So if you haven't already, you can like, you can share, you can subscribe, and you can get yourself in on the action and get yourself with a whole heap of fun. But from everyone who's worked hard behind the scenes, from the likes of, let's say, the stewarding team, the chief steward, George Muscat, the race director, Adrian Fagaio, from Justin and Nathan Mifsud, who have been on the cameras. My name has been Jake Sperry, and, well, it's been a very, very important race in terms of the landscape of multi-sim racing. That's the first race we've seen where Kyoto has really been challenged and, in fact, beaten when it has come to one-on-one out there on the tracks. But that's just one race. You're only as good as your last race, and so you have to keep on building on that form. Windy Boy will be hoping for more and more, and of course we will see you very soon when it comes to that. Welcome to World Pro Racing, and, well, goodbye for now.
This stream is powered by Melita, using Melita Gigapower Internet. World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
For only €5 a month, experience every high-definition moment on your TV, tablet, phone or PC. Great teams, great moments, and so much more. TSN from Melita is your ticket to stay in the game. Visit melita.com/sports.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
It's just so dangerous. You're risking not only your life, but also my life.
Wish your Wi-Fi network would just work in any room? Our new Stellar Wi-Fi is AI assisted to give you the smoothest, fastest possible Wi-Fi throughout your home. Stellar Wi-Fi, assisted by AI, exclusive to Melita. Find out more in-store or online.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.